When I was a very young girl, very young, my mom and my dad, my grandma, and we had a maid named Viola. We served and fixed so many meals for the people in Asheville that didn't have anything. This is what I meant when I was growing up. This is my first, I guess, taste of serving others. But we did this all along, but especially after the Depression and all. Mom and them went, and during the Depression they served, but I was born a little bit later. But my grandma always made sure that everybody that needed food in and around North Asheville, and that included the Beaver Lake area, the Beaver Dam area, all in the North Asheville area that she knew from her church, and then from the people outside the church. We always were cooking for someone and taking it over to them. And I remember their faces when we bring that food to them, because they had very little during that time. And I knew that was just such a joy to them, and it helped me all along. And I guess that's why nowadays I'm always wanting to look after somebody that needs help. And that's what I remember most growing up at Christmas time, was helping others with their meals and doing what we could to help them in other ways.
I remember one Christmas. It's whenever anybody asks me what Christmas I remember most, it was one when I was probably 5, maybe 6 years old, and it was a typical, it was a fairy tale Christmas, really, because it was snowing on Christmas Eve, and we always had a Christmas program in our house. My mother and dad would gather us all around. We'd sing carols and do all the things with candles burning, and so everything was perfect. We sang around the piano, did all kinds of fun family things. And so this one year, though, my mother thought it was going to be a failure, because we had just gotten started and everything was perfect, and then there was a knock at the door. And when we answered the door, there was a man who was intoxicated, and he was standing at the door, cold and covered with snow, and he said that his car he had just driven it off the side of the road into a ditch. And so my brother and my dad put on their clothes and got out our tractor to go and pull him out. Well, my mother, couldn't leave him there, and so my dad and my mother said, "Well, come on in the house and get warm while we go and get your car out." And my mother thought, "Oh no, this is going to ruin the whole night, having a drunk man in the house and right in the middle of our program." But for us kids, there was just another person in the audience, so we thought it was great, and we just kept on singing. And I can remember leading the music, a little kid, and we sang and we did our little, I guess, nativity or whatever it was. And when it was over, my dad and brother came back in and told him that they had gone down and found his car and pulled it out of the ditch. And when it was time to go, he put on his little coat and walked out the door. As he left, he turned around and said, "Gee, that sure was pretty." And then he went off to wherever he was going. And my mother's heart just filled, knowing that we had helped him, and was so glad that he had come in. And that it was just a typical way that my parents were always willing to help and help those who needed help, and that it actually turned out to be a blessing. To be the Christmas that I remember most was that sweet man, and when he left saying, "Gee, that sure was pretty." And we made somebody happy that night. So that's ours.